Hello, guys, and welcome to Comic Uno here. And I have some special guests here for one of my favorite comics on stands right now, Kill Your Darlings. Let's go around and just introduce everybody. So whoever wants to go first. Also, on my side, you're going a little slow, so hopefully my
I'll go
internet's okay.
first.
Go for it.
I will. It's me. I'm the co-writer of Kill Your Darlings, Ethan S. Parker.
Hi, my name is Bob Quinn. I'm drawing and I'm doing the art. That's what I do.
All of it. Pencils, ink.
Yeah,
color.
and pencil, ink, color. If you want art, I'm a one-stop shop for all the fun in comic books except for the writing part. Don't want to do it. Pain in the butt.
That's all right. I'll do it. Ethan and I will do it. Hello.
Well, how convenient for all of us.
Yeah. I'm Griffin Sheridan. I am the other half of the writing team behind Kill Your Darlings. Abigail, hello. Welcome.
Hey.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, anyone who has questions about the comic or just want to chat in the chat, go for it. You guys have such good chemistry, so I need to hear, how did you guys all meet each other? You know, obviously, like, internet life is so different than emails or whatever, but it seems like you guys are all really comfortable with each other. So I need to hear the origin story of the people behind the comic before we jump into the actual book.
I can cover the me and Griffin half real quick. Griffin and I were both obsessive Spider-Man children.
Love that.
Yeah, and Griffin did a Spider-Man podcast at the wee age of was it 13? And I heard through the grapevine that there were some little babies doing a baby Spider-Man podcast, and I was like, "Boy, I got to get in on the ground floor of that because nobody
baby Spider-Man podcast.
A baby Spider-Man podcast because nobody wants to talk to me about Spider-Man." I try,
which is crazy, a crazy thought to have.
I know.
Today.
I try to talk to everybody about it, and they leave. And so I emailed him. I was emailing at 13, obviously, and I said, "Griffin, can I be a part of your Spider-Man podcast? I'm a big fan." Which was a lie. I had never listened to it. And he invited me on. And we have now been best friends for 10 years, despite only being in person a handful of times. He was the best man at my wedding. We've worked together on many podcasts and endeavors, and this is our first time writing a comic book together.
Yep.
So
at some point, we just fell into cahoots with old Mr. Ryan Stegman, and through that did a couple of other endeavors that led to us meeting other influential people in our lives, Donnie Cates and Matthew Rosenberg. And when we started working for them, it suddenly became less of a pipe dream and more of like a North Star that we could follow for years and years to become comic book writers, which we both, I think, we both love storytelling in a bunch of different ways, but I don't know if either of us really thought we'd actually become comic book writers despite our love for comic books.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity just sort of came up as a possibility, and we said, yeah, all right, well, let's just chase that. And here we are about 4 years later, which is crazy. And then when it came time to make the comic book, we were like, well, we got to find an artist. So we emailed like 100 artists and heard back from like 6, and 3 of those were no. And then the other 3 we had conversations with, and one of which was Mr. Bob Quinn, who came in with so much enthusiasm for the project. It became extremely clear very quickly that he was the man for the job.
Absolutely.
I have to hear the other side. Yeah, let's hear the other side of the story. So Bob,
it's gonna line up pretty directly. I think Griffin emailed me and I read the pitch and I was like, this seems cool. And then I was like, let's do it. And yeah, we had a couple of, like, I think we had like a phone call or a Skype or something like that. And at one point, like, I think they brought their buddies Ryan and Donnie in to like convince me that they weren't jokers. And you know what? It turns out they weren't, because we're making a real good book. So, you know.
Yeah, we had references you could call.
Yeah. TV, little thin on the ground. However, good references, very good references.
I do want to mention a couple of comments here. You know, everyone's already spreading their love for Kill Your Darlings. Mark is not caught up, so I'm hoping as this chat's going on, Mark is actually pulling out those issues and reading the book. But he doesn't want to be spoiled, but he just wants to say, I want to let you guys know that I'm loving your book. It's one of my favorites from 2023. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mark.
That's awesome.
And then we also have Highland Low Roller, $25 super chat. Thank you so much. Have you met the Todd Father, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, do they own Image Comics? Well, we won't go into as much of that side, but I guess like, who are your influences from Image Comics? I think that's maybe let's form that question.
Well, first, we have been in a StreamYard with the Todd Father, and we sat quietly in the background.
Very politely. I literally said a few words to him in fear, and we were doing a bunch of signings for issue 1, and when I did one, somebody came up and asked me because of the Image connection if I had met Todd, and I was like, briefly, yes. And the guy started like doing the worship thing, like to me, because I had met Todd McFarlane.
Because you rubbed arms against him.
Yeah, that's how high of esteem people have for the man.
Yeah, your username was in the same chat room as Todd McFarlane's,
and that's all it takes.
It is. Never met Rob. Did sit behind Jim Lee at a screening of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny this past summer, and was like, "Is this Jim Lee in front of me?" And,
was that a coincidence? Was it just
no, it was literally like I was sitting there, and then Jim Lee enters my sight line and sits down directly in front of me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And, however, I am on drugs, so I'm not about to talk to Jim Lee. So I was like,
you have to be a little high to watch Indiana Jones.
So I just quietly acknowledged the fact that one of the Image founders was in front of me, and I would not say anything because I was too scared. But that was good. That was interesting.
In terms of our influences, though, we've gotten to work with many of our biggest heroes, and I think probably both of our biggest influence. I mean, other than we're both like big Silver Age babies, so of course we love your Stanleys and Steve Ditko's. But I think Brian Michael Bendis was probably the biggest influence on us. I'm probably not talking out of school to say. He's someone who we hold very dear, and we hold his work very dear. There's a sly little reference to his dialogue in the first issue of Kill Your Darlings, and we get to work with him now, and he's a wonderful, wonderful person. So we've been incredibly lucky in many areas, and that's one of the biggest.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys worked on Substack stuff with a lot of these creators, right? So how did you get into that? That was such a whirlwind for the industry in general. It's like people didn't even know what Substack was, and then it's like, all right, there's this website that all these big creators are going to. So how did you get to the ground up for that? And also obviously you guys were friends, it seems like, before that, but did you guys nudge each other like, oh, we should both do this Substack thing?
Well, this is the funny part of the bizarre destiny of it all that has surrounded the making of this comic book. And so I'd mentioned that we got close to Stegman. That happened because when we were doing Baby Spider-Man podcast back in 2014,
which is what it was called.
He was local to me. So he actually lives like 30 minutes from where I grew up. And so he was at a local con, and I went and interviewed him, and that involved getting his email address. And then years later, almost a decade later, I was doing a project in college, and we had the opportunity to interview people, and I was like, everyone else was doing their music major roommates, their art roommates. It was about creative processes, and I was like, that sounds boring. I do still have Ryan Stegman's email. I wonder if he would be game for this. Probably not, but let me see.
Were you a communications major? Because this does sound like a communications project.
So the project was for a film class, but I did get a communications degree. So
I also am a fellow communications degree holder. So I was just like, this sounds like a project.
All right. comm majors rise up. We get made fun of too much. Everyone's always like, communicate.
We do.
Shut up. Everybody needs better communication skills.
It's an umbrella term for many things. Yes. Okay, guys.
It was a very interesting field, actually. But no, it was for film school. And then he did say yes. And I was like, okay, fuck yeah. And then he ghosted me for a month and the project came and went and I had to do something else. But then he hit me back up a couple months later and was like, did I drop the ball on this? I was like, oh yeah, but I would still love to do it if you're down. What up, Judah, fellow con major?
Hello.
So I was like, okay, great, we can still do it. And he said, okay, cool. Are you still podcasting? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I am. That's the one thing I'm good at. And he was like, okay, do you want to do a podcast with me? And I was just like, yeah, yes. Because Stegman's stuff was like some of our favorite. The Baby Spider-Man podcast was actually a superior Spider-Man podcast.
Oh, wow.
That's I
There you
guess
go.
important to know. And so Stegman's work in that book, highly influential. So when he came a knocking, we were like, yes, we will do a podcast.
I literally still have vivid memories of being at the mall and Griffin calling me and being like, Jesus Christ, Ryan Stegman wants us to make a podcast for him. And it just being the biggest thing. Like, and it's so funny because for him, that's like, it was just like, what, I don't know, I'll make a podcast, whatever. Like, Griffin will do it for free. But for us, it was like, this is the biggest career development of our lives. It was very exciting.
Yeah. Sorry, like the roundabout way is that we did the podcast with Stegman and Donnie for a couple of years, and then Substack came and knocked on their door as part of their big "we're bringing comics to Substack" movement, and they pretty much decided, hey, do you guys want to come and like kind of take everything that we've been doing, like the podcast and stuff, and just add a little bit more work on that, and you'll get paid finally. And we'll throw you guys some money. You come just like run the Substack for us, where creators, might have taken the money that they got from Substack and dumped them like completely into books or, pocketed like however much of it, pay some bills. Ryan and Donnie said, why don't we take just a little bit of that and pay some starving 20-year-olds to run the show for us?
And just sort of treat it like a small comics imprint. Which other creators have been able to do as well, like Matthew Rosenberg with Ashcan Press and Brian Michael Bendis with his Jinx World Substack, and then luckily we were able to, through referrals, also get to work with those as well. So we've kind of like done this internship to the comic book community through working for these online imprints and with various creators,
with A-list creators too. I'm sure that was a master class every day,
Yeah, I mean, literally, because on the Jinx World Substack, Bendis is literally teaching a master class, and we're sitting in there just moderating, and so we're just soaking it all in, which is, again, just a stroke of fortune. So we're certainly set up for success to actually enter the field ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just a massive stroke of fate, pretty much, that put us just in the same room as
which we always talk about. It was luck that we met in the first place, like, and so like it's just been a crazy road of being lucky that Bob Quinn liked our stuff enough to commit, and we're immensely fortunate.
And I want to point the direction of Bob. So what's it been like to be on an imprint from a fellow artist, right? Has it been a different vibe because of it? Like what's it like working with Ryan Stegman's imprint?
It's incredible because there's no oversight at all. This guy doesn't do anything. Basically what happens is I send pages to Ethan Griffin and then they're like, yeah, it looks good, and then we put the book out. I mean, I wish I could tell you some incredible story, but and then Ryan pours over my pages and says, no, not like that, like this. He does. He's doing other stuff. He's busy. So it's I mean I'd say like the really cool thing about what we're doing is, it is an image book, right? Like we control our own destiny top to bottom on this, which is, I come from, corporate comics, right? Like I've done stuff for Dynamite, Marvel, and DC and all that. And, there's like editorial oversight. Then there's like, what does the publishing guy say about this thing and all that stuff. With this, it's just like, I don't know, what do we want to put in it today? And then you just put it in and you just make the thing that you want to make. And it's very freeing. It's very liberating. And, basically everything that is on the page is just all three of us just giving you everything we can. So
absolutely.
We also have a question from D. Autora. I heard Stephen King writes like a farmer. He doesn't know the ending during writing. Something similar happened to Kill Your Darlings. Or do you have a clear vision?
Oh boy.
Did my internet go out a little bit, or did you guys hear me?
Started a little bit. It's all good. Yeah.
I got it.
boy, I mean, there was a super clear vision of some parts, and then many other parts were a puzzle that was not sorted until many last minute calls. But the whole thing came to we've continued to refer to the concept of like, being on a train and then like building the track in front of you as the train is going, because like, we had it planned and we had done multiple drafts of the book under a different name, writing it all the way through, having written 8 issues, beginning, middle, and end, and then just scrapping it, starting again, scrapping it, starting it again. And once Bob was on board, it was like, oh, there's like actual time sensitivity. There's deadlines going on. The book is actually coming together. Now we have to finalize everything. And in doing that, we're trying to make it perfect. And so we're drafting again, and we're figuring out the structure again. And some elements remained remarkably faithful to the earliest iterations of them. The issue 5 that's coming out on the January 17th has many elements that were some of the earliest things what we conceptualized for the book, and they are exactly the same as they have always been. But much of the structure of the series changed dramatically really late in the game. It's been really weird to see some things that like we literally didn't touch, and some parts of the book that are unrecognizable from what they used to be.
Yeah, it'd be crazy that we would get on and talk about something with an issue and we would make a like sort of last minute change to this thing that we thought we had settled a year ago. Like we haven't touched this plot point in ages. And then we change it the day before Bob starts drawing it. And then the next day, Bob has turned in the pages for this brand new idea, where the other stuff is like, okay, yeah, this has been in my head for like a year and a half, and it's exactly what I was hoping for. And then other times it's like, we came up with this last night. I hope it works.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And it's funny because like we worked on it for 3 years. And so like in the lead up, like all the way to it coming out. And so like when it's going for that long and you need some elements to be solid, there are a lot of moments of like one of us calling the other one and being like, I'm sorry, I think we got to re-examine this one element, and the other one being like, fuck you, are you serious? Why? like no, just leave it in place. But the other person was always right, because we always just had to keep reappraising and digging it back up and making sure everything worked right.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years, that's so interesting to find out that's how long it kind of took to get to this process, which is not always a luxury that happens in comics. Sometimes there's things that happen so slowly, and then there's times that it's like, oh my God, this is due in a week, So what was how did you get the 3 week and not 3 week, the 3 year time span, but then also like how did obviously affected the storytelling a bit, but like what was the journey like, especially for one series, like just focusing on that one series?
We it should be known that we did go like creatively stir crazy on it at times, especially like before Bob actually came in and started drawing, where it was just Ethan and I. We almost hit a whole bunch of big red buttons, but mostly didn't. We spent the first year just iterating sort of on the idea and getting the pitch document together. So one of those 3 years was entirely just developing something to show publishers. And then once we got in the door at Image and they said yes, and Bob came on board, is when Ethan and I turned to each other, we're like, oh shit, now we got to write it. Okay. And so that then began the process of writing, and once issue 1 came out is when we hit the 3 year mark, and at that point we just had to write the last issue at that point. So it was just like nonstop writing for like a year and a half pretty much, while Bob was subsequently drawing it, which I know I say that word weird. We've talked about it on a previous live stream for KLC Press. I don't know, I just pulled that out. And we finished writing the last issue in New York together this year when we went for New York Comic Con.
This is the
That was a
only bit of the
very-
book we actually wrote together. Yeah, it
That's a
was-
crazy time
yeah.
to write. You're like going to panels and tired all day, and then you're
It was
like, you're
terrible.
also just finished
It was
writing.
It was
We were-
terrible.
we
Kat,
were-
I
we were
promise you.
Yeah, we were up deep into the night on the first night of New York Comic Con.
Yeah,
and I'm in there like turning in pages and stuff, and I'm like, "Hey, is this thing ready?"
Yeah, we're just,
Dude.
and we're. I mean, I also wrote on the whole flight to New York, and we're just pulling out our hair trying to get it done. Like it was literally like that night we had to have it done. God, I'm getting stressed out thinking about it.
Flights are nice to write on, though. I think a long flight is always nice because you're like, I
Yeah,
have nothing
yeah.
else to do. I'm just
Yeah.
really gonna focus on
I
writing.
did
There's no
like that. I
distractions.
love a vacuum. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that did help. That was important for sure.
hmm
And-
The sorry,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead,
on.
Kat.
No, I was gonna ask a similar question, but continue. Go for it.
The 3 years was excellent. It was kind of the perfect amount of time for us to consider everything. I think if we had any
Yeah.
more time, it would have started like kind of looping backwards on itself
Yes.
and reverting back into something that it's not. But
And
also
the
3
early
years.
drafts are embarrassing. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, then
Yeah.
the 3 years gave us the time to work through that. I mean,
Yeah.
we did 2 full passes on the entire series, which I haven't even thought about this in a while, Ethan. It's crazy to think
crazy,
about
I
it.
know.
We wrote every issue several times,
Yeah.
all the way through, and then Bob came on board, and that was when we were like, "Okay, no more fucking around. Now it's time to write the final versions of
Yeah.
this."
And
this
then even
book.
still, what I would end
Uh,
up getting is Kill Your Darlings issue 5, 10th draft. So I'm just like,
yeah, no, we would still do. We
Guys.
would still do up to 10
Yeah.
drafts. Yeah,
That's crazy.
It
That's
couldn't
awesome.
yeah.
All
mean,
writing
we're,
is
you know-
rewriting. It is
Yeah.
true, turns out.
And we're doing crucial tweaks in the lettering passes. Like it will not be finished. It will escape.
Mhm.
And that's all right, I guess.
And I think it's really cool that you guys are co-writers because I feel like you get a lot in television. There's a lot of
Yeah.
TV writers that you get pairs and that's a big thing. But comics, it's a little bit of more of a rarity. So how's that? What's that like? Obviously from a brainstorming scenario, but then also a selling scenario to a publisher. It's like, hey, we're 2 people. You
Yeah.
want us?
It's funny, like there are like phases of it that are really exciting. I love nothing more than like when one of us calls the other one with an idea we're really excited about, and we can both get kind of hyped up and like talking through all the possibilities and everything. And like breaking story together can be hard, but it can also be really wonderful. Because like it's just an extension of what we used to do, of just like calling each other for hours and just messing around or whatever. But it's great. But when we were first starting to actually write the scripts legitimately, it was awful. It was really, really, really terrible. I would call it going down into the mines. It was like pulling teeth because we didn't know how to do it yet. We were just constantly rewriting each other, where one of us would do a full draft and then be like, okay, your turn, and hand it off to the other one. And then the other person would just completely bulldoze and rewrite the draft and like get rid of things and add things. And that's crazy for anything, but like, especially when you're trying to make something that contains a lot of like personal stuff and you're really trying to express yourself through a piece of art, the idea of just repeatedly bulldozing each other and then being like, wait, where's that thing that I really love that meant a lot to me? And then the other person being like, well, I put a thing there that meant a lot to me. It was ridiculous. It was a really bizarre way to approach it. And we had heard about other, things. We've heard Lansing and Kelly talk about how they'll literally do a half and half script. One will write up to the middle point and the other one will take it and run. That was never going to be possible for us. We could never do it. That's insanity. I'm glad it works for them. That seems impossible to me. And so we had to figure out how to let each other do our own strengths, operate in our own areas that we think we could bring the most to, and then sort of negotiate between them. So we have kind of a writer-director relationship where Griffin plots out most of the visuals and the pacing and everything, and I handle a lot more of the dialogue and the character stuff. And we'll allow each other to do those passes on those things after we've decided all the beats together, and then we come together and we'll negotiate anything on each other's side that we think needs to move around. And once we figured that out, it has been buttery smooth. Like it is, it's honestly, the process is a joy. Like the actual writing together is like the least painful part.
And do you guys like write every day? Like, what's that? Like, what's a week like for you guys? Like, is it because as writing, you think it's glorious and it's like, oh, I write
Yeah.
every day and I'm by my, I get a cup of tea. It's like, no, most of the time it's like answering emails a lot.
Yeah.
But do you guys feel
right.
like you write once a week? What's your
We
situation
live in our
with that?
inboxes. Yeah.
Too many
It
emails.
really is.
There's too many emails. Well, yeah, when we have a project like actively like moving and happening and everything, where one of us is definitely writing every day, we're like usually we're handing it off, and then once we've gotten together and plotted it out, usually it's like, okay, I've got a week to get like the bones of this thing on paper, so Ethan can come in and add dialogue. And I'll take my week to do that, and Ethan will take a week to do the dialogue, and then we'll both read this sort of finished version, and then we sort of come together and do the mind meld and say like, hey, here's what has to change about this, here's what's working, what's not working. But I should probably be writing every day, doing little exercises and stuff. But the weird thing that happens when it becomes your career is like, hey, I would like to take a break, actually. So, but there's a lot going on. It's nice to have two of us though, because then we can kind of have our definitive space and like, this is when I'm going to write and this is when I'm going to breathe.
Yeah,
and
you have
like
a
hone the
bit of
ideas.
time where it's out of your hands, even if it's not done yet, which is like such a relief. Yeah. Yeah. Like I do a lot of writing of ideas. Like my notes app is always incredibly full.
Oh yeah.
Just from trying to make sure that anything that I like that pops into my head like doesn't go away forever. But I don't do scripting every day unless like it's I think something's in my hands. I'm running with the ball. I want to. And maybe I'll get there, but at the moment I'm really overloaded. We have a lot of jobs.
Again, that's the life of a comic creator. You're everything when you're a comic creator. You're the producer, the director, everything. But for you, Bob, what's it like getting their script? Like, what's your process of? All right, I see the script. This is how I'm kind of coming up with the world. Do you talk to them a lot through email? What's your process?
No, I basically what I do, I'm very regimented. Like I attack a comic book career very sort of like lunch pail. Like it's like I'm going to the construction site, right? Like every day I wake up, the whistle goes off. I got my coffee and my bagel. I sit down literally right here, and then I don't go anywhere until the quota that I have for the day is done. And then I throw it off to the guys and hope that they're happy with it. That's usually about how it goes. It's how it's gone my entire career.
It's one of the things I admire the most about Bob, because he's like an artist, like in the true sense of the word. Like he can express so much through his art, but like he does handle it with like militant, like 9 to 5 speed and accuracy, and like it's just like the dude never fails to deliver. It's just like this constant influx of pages. Like it's like it blows my mind.
We've had the great privilege of having Bob pages in our inbox every day for like the past year and a half or whatever it's been.
Year and a half now, I think.
And we just finished that, actually. Bob turned in his very last page of the series today. So it's a very fateful night for us to all be here talking about it.
We're pretty emotional about it.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was just like, do I have to go work on this other shit now? I don't care about it.
It's crazy. It's been such a, and we still have stuff to do. Obviously, still got a letter, the behemoth that is issue 8, and of course 5, 6, 7, 8 all still got to come out. We got to do the trade. There's more to do, but this very big and crucial part is wrapped, and it's fucking insane.
It's insane.
Which we're going to get into story, but let's get to see what these comments have to say, because actually one of my questions are in here. How do you guys come up with the titles? That's what the name changes. It's interesting because when you think Kill Your Darlings, you think about kind of what you guys went through in your writing process. It's like, well, that was my thing. I really liked. You just killed my darling. So how did you guys come up with the title for that?
That's a funny story. I feel like now we're really good with titles because we're working on a whole bunch of different projects, and I feel like the titles are coming pretty naturally. But like when we were trying to title this thing at first, brutal. That we could not find anything that felt right. We were going weird and experimental. We had slashes in the name. And it was all bad. We had a working title that was on our pitch doc, and Donnie Cates was telling us that he was going to give it a look, and we actually saw him go into the Google Doc, because you can see his little cursor show up, and we saw that he was looking at it, and we saw him backspace our title and then and put one in, and it was great. It was Scorned, which was the previous title. It's a sick title. It's fantastic, and it was the title for our whole initial work on the series. But then when we took it to Image, they were like, well, we have a book already called The Scorched, so we can have Scorched and Scorned on the shelf, so you might want to come up with something else. And so that sent us spiraling. It was a really nerve-wracking, what was it, a couple of weeks? It was just like,
Wow.
what? Like we had the perfect title. Yeah, what are we going to do? It was terrifying. And then I don't know what prompted it, but Kill Your Darlings just fell into my lap, and we were so excited, because not only is it kind of a shocker that it's not a prominently used thing, that it's like crazy that there's not other comics work that's really used it, but it also is so perfect in many senses with the book that like it applies to the literal events of the book, it applies to themes of the book, and it also applies in the meta sense to it being us learning how to write art for the first time, and it being a project about making things with us learning to make things. And so it was just a beautiful, fortuitous thing, just like the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another question here from D. Achoro. From a fanboy POV of your own work, which other media would you like to see it in? Games, video, movies. What do you want to see it in? Your pipe dream.
Hey, wait, that's my. Hey, buddy, that's my flatter.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's awesome.
thanks, dude.
So he's wanted
How's
to
it
know
going,
all
man?
these years.
Yeah, he's like, I've been working on this thing for like a year. What is happening?
Are we going to Hollywood? What's going on?
Yeah.
Thanks for all your work, dude.
What do you want to see? You want to see a LucasArts style Monkey Island style game? Could be good.
Could be good. More monkeys is always good. I know Bob agrees with me.
Mhm.
Well, certainly something visual. It's a very visual book. As much as an audio drama sounds right up Ethan and I's alley. I
Maybe for
don't
a
think that's
different
the way to go. Yeah. No, and probably an animated show. It is very episodic. It'd be hard, I feel like, to fit all those beats properly into a single thing. There's probably a way to do it. We haven't really thought about it, but yeah, an animated show would be great.
Yeah, to kind of, what'd you say?
I said would watch.
Yeah, to kind of swipe, Donnie and Ryan's answer that they always said about Vanish, they always mentioned wishing that it could be like an anime. And like I tend to, whenever I read a comic, I'm like, man, I would love to see it. I mean, like Invincible has kind of gotten close to that kind of
Scott
treatment.
Pilgrim just
Yeah,
did
Scott Pilgrim as well. That like getting sort of an anime style treatment of a comic property is always like, I'm like, wow, that is like the ideal adaptation. And particularly if you could get like crazy like opening sequences like anime have these days, especially, man, that would be. I just think that could really capture the energy and the chaos of this thing.
Yeah,
I could definitely see
definitely.
that. But let's jump into some story. So a big twist at the end of your first arc was finding out the mom wasn't as nice as you painted her to be. Was that built in? What was that? You guys talked about changing a lot of stuff. Like one thing I remember when I read issue 1, I love about your comic in general is that everything feels really organic, like conversations that you have every day. And one thing I really liked was the mom's conversation with the daughter, because it's like, okay, she's trying to make her shoo away, but she's kind of being nice about it. And then when you find out, it's like, oh wait, actually that's not how things were, because maybe our main character is not the most reliable narrator. So how did that come to fruition?
That's a tricky one to talk about because
you have to read ahead.
yeah, because we're entering into some more goings on. I would say if you're curious about that element of the story, maybe check out issue 5 on sale January 17th. It is all built in. This book has a lot to say about inheritance and legacy and the things that are passed down to you and whether you have a choice in the matter. But I think something that's really important about that is like a lot of horror is about that kind of thing, and we really didn't want to set out to just say like, you know, your typical kind of statement about that tends to be done with horror. You see a lot of horror that's like, oh, this, you know, my parent sucks and end of story, and I used a monster to express that.
The monster equals trauma.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, there's plenty of that in here, but there is a bit more that we're hoping to say with that. And so, yeah, like that first issue is interesting because you do see a really tired but quite kind side of Andrea. And then there's a bit of a hint in that bit when Rose gets home from school that maybe Andrea's a bit more troubled than we thought. And then, yeah, we find out some dark things that she was pretty neglectful and worse. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot more to unfold there, and it's all very deliberate.
And Bob, drawing that, like, how did, you know, starting from that opening scene and seeing a kinder mom and then, you know, getting to the end of the last arc, how did you try to tackle that?
All I ever try to do is my best at capturing what these lovely gentlemen have put in the script. I often cite them as being very evocative with the things that they want seen in like the dialogue in the panels. Even, you know, I mean, obviously they do another pass after I'm done with it and everything, but even like, you know, the drafts that I'm getting, like I tend to have a very strong sense immediately of everything I want to put in the scene, from, you know, camera angles to where the lights and darks are to, you know, what color palettes I'm going to be using, because it tends to all be there in the script. And, you know, at that point it just becomes, can I in fact execute? And so far it seems like we're 5-6 issues in that people have seen now, and I did it, you guys.
Bob can execute.
Yeah,
yeah.
Execute.
Oh, yeah.
Some people call it killing it.
Oh, damn.
Kill your darlings.
That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing every day.
Every day.
I
mean, not anymore. He's done.
Yeah, not anymore. Now I just do stuff.
Bob is retired. Bob is retired from Kill Your Darlings.
Yeah.
This was the last day you were killing it on Kill Your Darlings. But, you know, that's actually really interesting. Something that I loved about when this book premiered was that people caught on. And sometimes it's you find a book in the indie market and you're like, why are you not reading this? Right? It's just like, why are you not reading it? But this issue in particular, I feel like a lot of people caught on. What do you think the fire was? And also, what was your reaction? Like, what were you guys doing that premiere day? Especially this was your first comic. Like, what was the emotions there? And you know, obviously same thing for you, Bob. What was the emotions of the first day? And did you guys, you know, obviously you always want something to happen. You want things to be successful, but did you predict it? What was going on in your head?
Well, we get the you get the numbers for you know, the pre-orders and stuff just a day or two after the final order cutoff, which is like a month before the book comes out. And so we knew the response to the first issue, we kind of knew ahead of time by about a month, and it was crazy. It was like the email came in, and yeah, I just like started like because we knew that it was coming, and you know, we'd been working our asses off trying to promote it in the weeks leading up to FOC, and then those hours between FOC closing and the email with the numbers coming in was like, it felt like eternity. And as soon as it did, Ethan and I were like working on other things, and we got off the phone. And like, as soon as we got off the phone, of course, they sent the email, and just like dropped to my knees and called him. I was
Yeah,
just like,
I was standing up and my knees gave out. Like I like braced
Yeah.
myself against the fridge because like the thing is like the stakes were really high, not just in like we wanted to do well, but like so many different elements. Like we didn't want to let Bob down because Bob like is this veteran who like put in a lot of faith in us, and like we were these like unknown quantities. And so like if the book sold 4 copies, like it was just gonna be crushing because like there was so much so much invested in us. And so the fact that it did really well and like and did so much better than we hoped for was such a massive relief.
Mm-hmm.
And on release day we were both doing signings. We set up a ton of signings
Which is so important. It's important
Yeah,
to
and-
connect
and-
to your retailers.
Yeah, and I was sitting at my table doing the signing, and I was looking at my phone to see the first reviews came in, and I just started having a panic attack because I was like, "This is like," I was like, "This is a lot. I gotta look at this
Yeah.
later." It was very, very daunting, but incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously.
it was a crazy day. I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by people that I love. I went and got a tattoo. It was great.
Hell yeah.
It was a fantastic time. And
I need
it's
no
just-
tattoo now. Is it related?
It is. It is.
Good.
It's the it's Rose's lava lamp
Mhm.
from
It's really cool.
issue 1.
I have yet to get
Um,
my Kill Your Darlings tattoo, but I keep thinking about it.
It's coming.
When the last issue comes out, that should be it.
There you
The
go.
I
day
think
the
that
last
might- I
you
think
did
that-
the
it
first
might have to
day.
be it.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's right before my birthday too, so
There you go.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
yeah.
Yeah, everything was like the best case scenario that we would like joke about. We would be like, yeah, right. And then when the second printing happens, that's when we
Right,
buy a boat.
right.
And then the second printing did happen. And that was just like, yeah, I don't know. It was crazy. I don't know what else to say. Honestly.
No, well, I mean, I think from like the 3rd or 4th page, having turned in on this book, I was like, we're doing something special. Like I really felt like we were doing something that was very unique, and that I hopefully would turn a few heads. And it turns out that I was right, which is a great feeling to be correct. No, but like no, but like no, I'm serious though. Like it was the scripts are coming in, and I was reading them, and I was like, oh shit, these guys really know what they want to do on this thing. Like this is like I was getting all the feelings and everything about it, and I was like, yeah, I think we're making something really, really cool here. And the thing that's been so gratifying about that is that like people have been reading it, and like so much like. The number of times that I've gone to websites that like this is a 10 out of 10 book, I'm like, really? I mean, I knew that, but I'm glad you noticed it too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I hate being like the "we are great" guy, but like honestly, I'm like, this is a really good book. Like, and I'm very, very proud of it. And Ethan and Griffin, I hope you guys are too.
Of course,
Absolutely.
Of course. It
There's
looks
something
beautiful.
special about the book. It's I think because we live in comics where sometimes we hear we all we're talking about Spider-Man. We love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. But it's a character that's lasted for so long. It's 60, 70 years. And it's like getting something fresh and new, but also feeling very familiar. And I think that, takes for all your guys' backgrounds. I think that's what was so fun about this is that and so electrifying for so many people. It's just like, wow, this feels familiar, but it's also something I don't know where this is gonna go in the greatest way.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
congrats.
I think that's one of my favorite reviews was the guy that was like, we have no idea what this is, but you need to be reading it.
Yeah. That's I love that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. I mean, definitely like there's a lot of stuff we want to work on. There's a lot of characters we'd love to write, but I do think the most important thing to us is making new stuff and putting it out there, and stuff that really like expresses a feeling that we want to put out there and that means something to us. And so, yeah, the idea that we could put something out that somebody would pick up alongside their Spider-Man or God forbid, even instead of, no, that's amazing. It's deeply meaningful. Anytime that anybody has like cited a personal experience of like, man, I read this and it really affected me. I don't even know how to process it. Like my brain is still figuring out how to deal with like somebody having a really personal experience with something that I've worked on. But I just know that it's the most special thing in the world and I want to do it forever.
Have you guys done like Comic-Con since the release? Like, how's that? Like, that's always really fun when you get to see, people who read it and be like, I
Yeah.
really love it. Yeah, like what was that experience like? You know, I'm guessing you guys have gone to Comic Cons, but then like table deck Comic Cons, doing panels. Like, yeah, tell me all the experience of those.
We had the privilege of going to some cons with Ryan and Donnie and like being their booth boys for a couple of years. So like we had that sort of experience. And then we did New York Comic Con this year, which was about a month after issue 1 came out and like the week before issue 2. So it was like kind of a weird space where it was like still just the first issue. So we were just selling issue 1 at our table, and we got kind of boned in the placement of where like we were smack dab between two like cute Pokemon stickers and art that places that were so much busier than our table, and rightfully so. Like the people who were next to us on during New York Comic Con, extremely talented, very very nice people. And yeah, we were just trying to pawn the book off on anybody that would listen, and seeing people like hear the pitch and everything like in real time and be like, oh, okay. And like some people are even flipping through it and they're like, oh my God, what is this? And so
Yeah.
it lived in, you know, it lived in just Ethan and I's brain for so long.
Yeah.
And then it lived in just like in our PDF Dropbox folder when Bob came. And then to be at New York and see it sort of like suddenly to take shape in someone else's mind right in front of our eyes is like crazy, really nuts.
Absolutely.
And everyone who stopped by that weekend was a real joy. And we were very, very, very tired, but it gave us this energy. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I've only done like one small X-Men Comic-Con since, you know, this came out. But even still, the number of people that would like walk by and then they'd look and they go, oh, hey, I read that. And then they'd bring their friends over and be like, that's the book I was telling you about and stuff like that. And they're like dressed up like Pixie or whatever, you know, with that voice. I don't know. It's again, it's like when you do it's a weird book, but when people pick it up, it seems to capture the imagination in a very specific way. And I'm again very, very pleased that that it is connecting with people, because that's why you're doing this stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, getting back to some more story stuff again, with all the issues, we've gotten some flashbacks and we've seen other people. Obviously, you can't spoil, but I would like a little teasers about what are these flashbacks about? Tell us a little bit more.
Well,
we met someone.
They're about eating babies. What do you not know? I don't get it.
They're largely about eating babies, which is, you know, a form of darling to kill, I suppose.
It's the most darling thing you can.
Yeah. Well, we're tracking
Puppies, babies.
Yeah. We've
got spoilers.
We're following Rose, but we're also following someone else who I don't know if people are reading the previouslys, but you can see that she has canonically been named the girl who wouldn't burn, there's you know the issue 1 and 2 is quite a logical progression where it's like you see something real bad happen to her in issue 1 that would probably leave you a little upset. And then in issue 2, you see something else really bad happen to her that would probably leave you really upset.
She doesn't have a good luck.
But you see her, strike back a little bit. And then in 3, there's a whole lot of time that we don't explain or show, and she has become someone quite different. Someone who eats babies. And so now, you know, in issue 4, the last one that's out, the issue didn't start with her, but she shows up right at the end. And so we've built so you know, for these 4 months now, to these two characters finally coming together, and what's going to happen when they meet, and what's the relevance of their meeting, what do they have to do with each other, there's not a lot that can be said beyond that, other than that she is such a delight to write. I like every word that we've had her say has been such a joy to put together, and her integration into the story really sets off some fireworks. Whenever she is on panel, things get tense. And things tend to blow up. And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited for people to learn more about her.
Now, something that's also really interesting. Oh, well, unless Griffin, you had more to add.
Nope. That is all very true.
Yeah, something that's really interesting is that this is kind of a period piece as well. I believe it was like in the 90s that we got the first issue, and then we get to see some more progression. Why a period piece? Like, I mean, I can maybe collect why that might happen. Maybe we'll see more time pass, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Ethan and I were both born in the Lord's year, 1998. And so issue 1, the bulk of issue 1, of course, the part that isn't taking place in the 1690s, was in 1995, so it predates us. And I think there's even there's a sort of mysticism, there is a warmth to that time period, maybe even because we literally didn't exist at the time. Yeah. But there's something about it that seems kind of far away or unattainable now, of like kids just we're not trying to get on the soapbox and be like, get off the fucking phones, but like but just a time when it would be more likely
Imagination.
To find a child playing with their toys. Or a
child bored enough to make up their own stories.
And so because that time period has a vague warmth to Ethan and I, when we think about it, we were like, that's the perfect point to start Rose's story, because we're going to rip that away. And so we wanted to start in a very warm, sort of comfortable place that feels like its own sort of fantasy land, in the way that we just don't live life like that anymore, for better or for worse. And so that's where we started it, knowing full well that we would have to start in like this nice place and take it away from Rose as part of her journey. And then the rest of it was just the logical, like, she was 8 and now she is 16. So now we are in 2003. And
it allows her to grow up along a similar track that we did. Like she's still not an adult in the early 2000s. And so like, she's not too far off of like our timing, but the book is like not about us. Like, it is removed from our lives. Like, we have things we're trying to express and everything, but she is a character that is not us, and so it allows for her to sort of have her own space and for her to incorporate it into the world differently than us, while also using some of our perspective a little bit.
Sort of working backwards, we had to also make sure that, because there's a crucial event that happens in issue 5 that we knew would have to take place at a certain time when there was less technology available to make certain decisions more understandable, maybe. So yeah, there's that too.
So no going to 2023. Not spoiling, but like, is there? See, right? You have to see. And that's interesting. I didn't know you guys were born in 1998. That's the cusp of millennial and Gen X.
We're in the weird, terrible zone in between. You're okay. So you're like a latter millennial, and we are in this weird fucking gray space, pretty much.
I'm a geriatric millennial.
That's so interesting from the point of view of how to write and draw, though, because you get, cusp of this Gen X, and then you got the geriatric millennial. But that's so interesting. That's very cool.
We're just the age where we're the last people to know what a VCR is.
It's true.
We had a rotary phone, I wrote letters.
When we put a rotary phone in the book, there's a rotary phone in issue 5, and Bob emailed us. He was like, "Fuck yeah, I love these fucking things, man. We gotta put it back."
Now we're getting somewhere.
We're just gonna have a cell phone that looks like it, and it's gonna be super weird. But
our next book is only gonna be rotary phones and gorillas, because that is
just for you, Bob.
Bob's wheelhouse.
Just for you.
Oh, I'm very excited to read that one. That will be a weird comic, but I'm sure you guys will ace it.
It's gonna be good.
We do have some questions here. So we got D. Otro, who says, your approach to coloring has a strong painterly look foundation, but this is not the usual comic coloring look. think the approach enhances the horror aspect story?
That's interesting. I had not considered that. I do color differently than like mainstream comics. And I wonder if the sort of softness and not relying on like big crazy, like, I don't know, like the coloring is not like big crazy bright, you know, all the time. But there's maybe there is a softness to it. It could be. I think my work tends to be a little moodier than a lot of like mainstream stuff.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that might be what you're feeling when you're seeing the horror stuff and thinking maybe that's impacting you more, because it's not. Yeah, because I am going more for trying to capture the tone and mood of you know, whatever's happening in the story, and it's less about like you know, big bright excitement, unless the scene very much calls for that kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm really bad about explaining that kind of thing.
The texture of it is everything to me. It feels like you could reach out and touch the elements that are in the book, which just makes everything feel so, tangible. I love it.
Mhm.
There you go.
We also have another question here from Sledhead. What are some challenges you think in marketing a new book like yours? It's a great story with great art, but how do you convey that to a potential reader?
That's easily the worst part of doing an independent book.
Yeah.
Honestly, the marketing part is the worst part of any book, because the fact of the matter is like big two publishers just kind of like ride on the fact that they are big two publishers, and that you know, a lot of comic shops will just pick up an issue one, but then it doesn't really matter, right? So they don't really do any marketing or advertising, and then you get an independent, you know, book, and what you're you know, what you can't do is rely on the fact that, hey, this is Spider-Man, or hey, this is Venom, or hey, this is Superman, right? You have to you have to wave your arms and shout into the valley, hey, we're making something really cool, really special, and there's like a bunch of new characters you don't know about, but we promise you're going to love them.
Right.
And that's actually a really, really tough sell. You know what I mean? Especially when you're trying to do something different, right? Because like like in my older job where I used to make you know, video games and stuff like that, we'd do market testing and stuff like that with kids, and then a kid would see a game and they say, oh, this is just like Angry Birds or whatever, and we'd be like, do you like that? And they'd be like, yeah, because I like Angry Birds, right? So like when you're giving people something they already know they like, then it's easy to sell. You just go, yeah, I'm just giving you more of this thing you like. But convincing people that, hey, this brand new thing you've never heard of with a crazy story and eating babies and witches and all this shit, like, you're gonna like it, we promise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And also, like, if you're trying to make it like mysterious, like because like we love to like make things that might be difficult to sum up with a this meets that, or with one sentence, where you could just go, it's Stranger Things, but with Freddy Krueger in it. Like that's kind of a bummer. Like we really wanted this thing to be, you have a lot of questions. Like you look at the cover, you go, what's going on? I want to know. So I got to keep turning the pages. And like, that's a hard thing to do in marketing, because you don't want to just always be like, I don't know, check it out for yourself. It's like people need something to hang on to. So it's like such a hard line to walk. I don't know.
We don't have a marketing department. It's just like us.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big shout out to our letterer and designer, John J. Hill.
Yes.
Not just for his excellent work on the book. He kind of like came up with the whole wraparound thing that the cover A's all have. But also he does a bunch of the graphics that we use to promote the series. That's all him. And so it's all in-house, the Kill Your Darlings creative team.
And it's such a striking visual language that like does stick off the shelf and everything. So yeah, John and Bob have done a great job of making sure the thing, like, you know, it says "Pick Me" amongst all the other books in the shop. And yeah, we just do our best to point to it.
And you know, comic journalism is so different these days too. So how do you guys approach that? Like, you know, less websites are reviewing, less websites are interviewing. It's interesting. This week it was announced that the Eisners won't have a journalism category because comic journalism.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that on I think Popverse. Who Reed Pop runs them.
That's kind of
right.
Yeah.
But like, how do you guys, as newer creators, again, obviously you're on this podcast, but like, how do you guys promote your books? Is it word of mouth? Is it social media? Every creator has different ideas about social media. Like, what's your approach?
I mean, social media, is it still happening? I don't know.
No, exactly.
Honestly, I feel like it's dead.
Like
I couldn't tell you one book that we moved as a result of a bunch of tweets.
We've
that.
done a ton of social
Maybe.
media stuff. I don't know if any of it worked. Like particularly, obviously, Twitter is really fucked. But like,
yeah, Twitter. I mean, maybe if we'd made like a Chat GPT bot that talked to other Chat GPT
Right.
bots, maybe we'd be getting some traction or
maybe that
something
could
over there.
figure
But
it
like,
out. But
I
like,
don't
yeah, like all you can do is be annoying. Like all you can do is like just shove it into everybody's hands. Like we're just constantly sending emails to anybody and everybody that we think might write something up, might put the word out there, and doing that in several different ways. Like it is. Again, like we're the team. So it's just constantly knocking on doors. Hey, what do you think? You want to talk about this? We would love it. Thank you. And thankfully, so many people have been kind enough. And we've had some connections here and there, some friends that have helped us out. But a lot of the time, it's just constantly like, hey, here's who we are. Here's this thing. What do you think? And so much of the time that can fall flat. And any times that it works, hey, that probably moved a book or two. And so it's a delight. Yeah.
Yep.
We also have another question here. Do you listen to any music while you write? Well, I was going to say, especially as co-writers, but it seems like you guys, you do your thing, but then also you get to do your thing separately as well. So yeah, music. Like it, don't. Is there any playlists that you need for Kill Your Darlings is also a question.
Ethan's going to tell you that he does not listen to music because he's a psycho. No, everything that he says about writing in a vacuum, I agree with. We'll get there. I listen to music, especially on like the first draft. That is just like, okay, I should just put the blindfold on and just like type, because if I take the time to like go back and really like try and work on it, it's just like futile and it will never be finished. So certainly for the first draft, I will pick some stuff, typically instrumental stuff. I am in like the 0.05 top fans of John Williams on Spotify. So there's some John Williams. there's select John Williams in there. Depends on what the issue is. Awesome. The score for Mandy is a big one for this. Dungeon Synth. I wrote a lot of the last issue to Dungeon Synth, like like a hole dweller. Look it up. It's good shit.
Get your Spotify's open.
Yeah, just vaguely instrumental, like classical stuff, something that feels dark and moody. Yeah, that's
we've talked about why it makes sense though, because Griffin is like, he's fueling the machine to like be like, okay, and then open on this and it looks fucking sick, and then but I'm like running conversations in my head constantly, so anything else gets in the way. So it's like, yeah, I'm abject silence, whereas Griffin's got to be hyped. I think it works well together. I don't think I am a psychopath. But I'll leave that to the fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Okay.
For me, layouts require absolute silence. I cannot have any kind of sound happening, music or otherwise. And then when I'm drawing, all bets are off. It doesn't matter. I have all, because it takes me all day, so there needs to be a lot of other stimulus out there. So
no TV shows, no movies.
I can't do TV shows. I can't do TV shows. I can do podcasts. I didn't have a playlist for this, but I was listening to a lot of Every Time I Die and Fart Barf. So there you go.
Fart Barf.
If you're not listen to Fart Barf, it's very good.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll look up Fart Barf and Dungeon Synth Hole Dweller right after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You should.
It'll be easy to spell. Fart Barf.
Yeah, one word.
Fart Barf.
This is like 2 days ago. We got on a call with Bob, who was wearing a shirt that says "Never Not Pooping." So.
I was about to say it's very on brand. Yeah.
That's hysterical. I hope that "Never Not Pooping" is not just a concept. I hope it's a band, actually. So
it says "Never Not." It says "Never Not Pooping," and then there's a wizard doing a kickflip.
That's honestly a very fun shirt that I think everyone should have. So if you have a link, You
I
should
don't
share
need
it to the
I'm,
mass.
I'm pretty sure if you just Google "never not pooping," it'll come up.
How do you get that? Do you see it in a store? Do you go like
Yeah,
does someone
Bob.
gift you that?
No, I bought it for me. I can promise you that. I just don't even remember how I happened upon it. One of my many strange Googles, like, do sharks poop? Or like, and
Like, wait,
next
there's
thing
a
you know.
shark.
Do they,
Oh,
Bob?
yeah, they do actually.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
thank you.
All right. They're never not poop.
Yeah, kind
Just
of.
like how they always swim, right? Even when they're
Always
asleep,
swimming, and then
always
what?
pooping.
Always propelling forward through the power of poop, ladies and
All
gentlemen.
right. All right.
Fun and educational.
Oh my god! I'm
So anyway, kill your
sorry.
darlings.
Yeah.
I hope that I go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and these are the
Oh.
questions I
Yeah,
get.
that'd be great.
Look, if I get you that $1,000,000,
Fair.
I don't want a penny of it. I'm just gonna sit back and smile, being like, I know how to feel.
Well, I'll be wearing the shirt that says never.
Ah!
So
Oh, God.
I'll be all set. I'll be all set.
Yeah.
But going into Kill Your Darlings, a total 180 here. I
Mhm.
love the relationship between Rose and Elliot. Tell us more about their relationship. And also, I'm curious, and spoiler territory if you want to go into it or not. Is it more of a friendship or is it romantic? Because I feel like sometimes you get to see a guy and a girl together and like, oh, it's got to be romantic, or is it just a friendship? I think either one could be an interesting story. So let's hear about their relationship and what went into it.
They are so cute. They're so fucking cute. I love writing them together.
Wow.
Every time.
All right.
And like there are some bits coming up in Act 2 where just giddy writing them. I was just like, look at this.
Yeah.
I think Elliot is like the sort of he's the response that we would like want to like have shown to Rose, right? Where like nobody believes her about any of the things that have happened to her, but her best friend Elliot does, and he still hangs out with her. And I think that's the most important thing. I think for me is that he represents the best ways to kind of go about having someone like Rose in your life. I don't know.
Yeah,
We could put the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah,
I love
write the man you want to be. That's what.
Yeah, well, for real, yeah. He's like a human golden retriever. Like he's the most loyal boy you could imagine. I think that's like really crucial to the book. Like when so much scary, awful shit is happening, is like having characters that are really sweet and like Rose, like in issue 1 is like, oh my god, this is a child that I must protect at all costs. And then so much bad stuff happens to her, but then you see that Elliot is still with her going, I must protect this girl at all costs. Like it's like it's like if you could wish someone into the story to be with Rose on her journey, it would probably be someone like Elliot. And so she's got great company between him and Wallace. They have a very special relationship that there is a scene in the second half of the book that just writing the conversation between the two of them, I cried quite a lot. I care about them a lot, and I'm very excited for people to see where that goes.
Yeah, I think as to is it platonic, is it romantic? I think Rose and Elliot are wondering the same thing.
Especially Elliot.
Well, read the story with that in mind for sure. But yeah, let's get into anything else that you guys want to talk about this second arc tomorrow. Not tomorrow. For Wednesday, it comes out. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. But
okay.
Yeah, tell us what can you tease, what you want the audience to know going into this second arc.
We've been using this like Act 1, Act 2 sort of way to like talk about it online, which we'll see if that works for people. Obviously, that's a weird way to sort of talk about comics. Sort of specifically, everyone's used to talking about arcs, so then we start throwing act in there, and I don't know. But it felt very fitting to say it's like Act 1 and Act 2 of a play. So issue 5 is kicking off Act 2, and so in that, it is kind of like a bit of a beginning to a second sort of half, right? And less of a direct, straight up continuation of where we left off in issue 4. We take a pretty hard left turn in 5. It's very sad. And
Get your
I think
tissues
people
ready.
Yeah.
it's very devastating, and 4 also obviously had a lot of really dark stuff kind of go down, and so between 4 and 5 they're like kind of, you know, our midpoint in the story, and so that's like the sort of darkest depths of the story. And then out of 5 we are going to sort of rocket towards the third act and the finale of the series. And I think we set up a lot of questions in issues 1 through 4, and issues 5 through 8 sort of start unraveling those questions and maybe giving you some of those answers that you've been hoping to get.
Yeah, Bob mentioned that comicbook.com quote about I don't know what this book is, but I love it. And it's, if you want to know what the book is, issue 5 is going to give you what you didn't know you needed in a really tough way. And then issue 6, I think by then you will know pretty much everything you need to know. And by then it will be time for everything to kick off all the way until the end. And so if you're just getting in now, you're getting in at the perfect time. Catch up, go along for the ride with us. Yeah, questions will be answered, tears will be shed, and we got a lot we want to say, and we hope people are receptive.
And then last question for you guys: what's after this? What do you guys want to do? I think there's so many different mediums in comics that you can work into. Is it still the direct market? Is it, you know, Kickstarter, Webtoon? There's some Substack, you know, what directions do you guys want to explore? Yeah, whoever wants to take that first.
I'll do anything that it takes to keep working with Bob Quinn. So I don't know. Bob, you want to do another book?
Yeah, that was easy.
Okay, cool. Well,
You heard it here first.
Great.
This is the exclusive.
We're gonna try really hard to do another book together, of course, because we love working together. We have a lot of like things we're trying to get going right now, in various different places. But I think if people are loving this, they will be pretty excited about what we have coming up next.
Which hopefully we'll be able to talk about more soon.
Yes.
Yeah. If you've been checking the trades or whatever, I don't know. You already know that I'm doing like a Spider-Man thing after that.
Ooh.
Yeah. There you go. Very
The
exciting.
next character we
Yes.
created.
Yeah, our next character, Spider-Man.
And then also, like, anything else you guys want to plug? And will you want to do more of Kill Your Darlings? Like, what's, you know?
Ooh.
Man, we need to tread carefully here. Yep. Yes. I feel like we could write these characters forever. Part of the appeal and part of what we wanted to do with Kill Your Darlings was to do a complete, concise thing where it has a beginning, middle, and an end. We wanted to do that to prove to ourselves that we could do that we could wrap something up, that we could do the full sort of arc.
Yeah.
It was to prove to ourselves and to prove to readers, like, you know, if you stick around in whatever we're writing, it's gonna come to whatever you're hoping will come to fruition, hopefully, and we will create something very satisfying. So there is an ending to Kill Your Darlings, and as to if we can do more after said ending, I don't know. You will have to read issue 8 when it comes out, and then see where it's left off. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know. I finished it. I've done drawing it. I know it. I'm not going to tell you.
No, I don't think we have anything else to plug.
No.
Kill Your Darlings, please.
You can follow us in all of the terrible places that you can still follow people. We're around on those platforms.
You're not an AI yet.
Twitter.
Not yet.
Not at the moment.
Not yet, but I don't know.
You're starting to become an AI.
On the way, yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining. This was a really fun cast, and again, it was just so great chatting. And thanks to everyone who joined the show and
Totally.
asked some wonderful questions. And go read this book if this is your first time hearing about the book, and you're like, "Wow, these guys seem really cool. I want to support them." You should go support them. And also, it's a really cool book. So go check it out. I'm really, really excited to read more. And honestly, it's a book that when I go to the comic book store, I'm genuinely excited to go to the comic book store because I want to see what happens next. I'm like, it's the first thing on my pile. I'm like, I just want to read Kill Your Darlings. I want to see what happens because every issue really it hasn't let me down, and it's just like it's so well crafted and it's so nice to see. So definitely excited for everything to come from everybody on this panel, but also just seeing what more happens with Kill Your Darlings.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no worries. But this is the end of the show, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.